Welcome to your astrological forecast for the week of Monday, December 6th through Sunday, December 12th, 2021. And this week the moon will be waxing or gaining light from Capricorn to Aries. And just generally speaking, this would mean that there's more activity as the moon is gaining light. There's more activity, more energy in the air. And this is especially marked by the first quarter moon that we will have in Pisces on Friday. And this is especially interesting for two reasons. One is because it's conjunct Neptune. So being a first quarter moon in Pisces and having it conjunct Neptune, this will be a very dreamlike, confusing energy, very kind of delusional, but also really great for creativity and spirituality. And this is also interesting because it's our first quarter moon since the new moon solar eclipse on late Friday night or early Saturday morning of last week. So this really marks the beginning of these new themes. These new themes bursting to the surface are really making themselves known and disrupting the status quo, which actually began last weekend, but are only really visibly becoming part of the scene now, or really disrupting the status quo again. So this will be interesting, and I will say before I get into the specifics of each day here, this week is very up and down. So it's almost like the energy of each day is very different than the one before or after. It's very up and down, and you'll see more about what I mean in just a moment here. So let's go forward to Monday, December 6th. Oh, whoops, we're already there. Okay, so we do have Moon in Capricorn, and it will cross over Venus and Pluto. And this is really interesting to me for a variety of reasons. So the moon, we're just coming out of this new moon solar eclipse. So the moon is just gaining light. It's barely a sliver, probably just visible in the very early morning, right before the sun rises. So this would symbolize or indicate that we're just starting to see the new beginnings of what happened on that new moon solar eclipse of Friday night or Saturday morning of last week. So we're just having these new themes playing out that are very different than what's been happening before. I know that's vague, but it's especially applying to our emotions and just to kind of some daily events of our lives. And with the moon in Capricorn here, it's very steady growth. So it's kind of very fitting for this very first part of the lunar cycle. Monday, with this lunar position, it's really great for steady growth. It's all about the long term. Moon in Capricorn is in detriment, so it can often indicate like sort of depressing or anxious energies, but we do have this nice conjunction with Venus, so this will kind of soften things a little bit. And Venus likes to be productive, it likes to make things more smooth and graceful. So I really like that it kind of softens those more challenging aspects of the moon in Capricorn. So again, it's just so perfect for slow growth, for just steadily working toward our goals and ambitions. And there's an aspect which basically just reinforces this. So we have Mars at 25 degrees Scorpio, and it makes a sextile to Pluto at 25 degrees Capricorn. And again, this is really perfect for that steady growth and making new goals or just working toward goals we already have. Mars is so ambitious, and it's all about attaining our desires by working hard or just focusing on what we want. And it's making this sextile to Pluto, which is all about the long term. Pluto and Scorpio, or excuse me, Mars and Scorpio, Pluto and Capricorn. So these are two signs which are very focused on the long term. They're very ambitious, but in a very steady, slow type of way. So basically, all this just boils down to Monday is a really great day for starting things in a very strong way, but it's a very deliberate energy and very much focused on the long term. So really kind of a beautiful way to start the week in a way. Really is great for starting projects again, starting work on anything that we desire. Going forward to Tuesday, December 7th, everything sort of changes because the moon enters Aquarius, and Aquarius is just a very different energy than Capricorn. It's much lighter, much more lively, so it's not as subdued or serious, and it's not as disciplined. It's more just wanting to be kind of radical and experimental, more playful, more sociable, more talkative. So Tuesday is much more lively and more playful. So Moon does cross over Saturn, so that does bring out some still continued more goal-oriented themes. But still, again, this is such a more light energy that it's not as serious or heavy. And Aquarius is wanting to be kind of rebellious. It's almost kind of like a party animal in a way, and Sun and Sagittarius reinforces this as well. these are very intellectual energies, but they're also kind of party animal energies. So really great for having those kind of interesting or philosophical conversations. We also have Mercury at 20 degrees of Sagittarius, and it makes a square to Neptune at 20 degrees Pisces. This is also great for being really philosophical or really creative. Sagittarius and Pisces focus on spirituality or some of the more obscure questions of life, like, like the kind of weird, far out philosophical situations. They like to focus on abstract types of topics. And with Mercury in detriment in Sagittarius, it's really hard for us to quantify things or to think in a linear way. Mercury typically rules the mind, and so it rules how we think. And we want to, quantify things, analyze. We want to make plans and make sure that we're prioritizing things correctly based on our, the time we have or our energy. But Mercury in Sagittarius, it's doing these things in a very different way. We're not thinking linearly. We're not thinking objectively. We're being much more creative, passionate, spontaneous. And this square aspect with Neptune just reinforces this. It's like there's no really real structure to what we're thinking. So again, the downside is we're not being as objective or clear with our thinking and our communications. But the plus side is that we can be more creative, more spiritual, more, attuned to these higher creative parts of our mind, I guess you could say. Let's go forward to Wednesday, December 8th. And Moon is still in Aquarius. It's about halfway through, and it makes this beautiful sextile with the Sun at 16 degrees Sagittarius. So this really just indicates a really harmonious vibe to the day. And again, it's Sun in Sagittarius with Moon in Aquarius, so it's very kind of reckless and radical, wanting to be different or edgy, wanting to explore these like forbidden topics. But it's also very intellectual, combining these two signs. So again, really great for having those really rich conversations and philosophical or just kind of wild conversations or social interactions. And yeah, but I think it's all in good fun. It's really nice, almost type of like party energy in a way. These are just two such fun-loving signs. They can be kind of detached and scientific, but they're also just wanting to have fun. So all in all, it's just kind of like an experimental, wild, fun type of day on Wednesday. And Mars at 26 degrees of Scorpio squares Jupiter at 26 degrees Aquarius. I could interpret this a couple different ways. So one is that Jupiter in Aquarius is symbolizing the group. It's symbolizing the future. It's symbolizing all these like far-reaching abstract ideas, so society or what's best for the group, what's best for the long-term future. Could also have to do with like online activities or technology. Mars in Scorpio is very different. It's much more emotional and it's much more focused on the self. So it's not about the future or the group. It's about, me right now. It's about what we want personally and, maybe those immediately around us. And it's very much having to do with our personal desires. It could be sexual or it could just have to do with like our ambitions or our plans or goals. But again, it's very personal, it's very emotional. So there's this clash between what's best for the group or what's best for the long term versus what do I need right now? What do I need for my self-expression, etc. So this is kind of a clash that we're all experiencing in different ways on Wednesday. And it could also have to do with like online activity, online information that's being brought up. It could have to do with people or groups wanting to be manipulative. Mars and Scorpio can be very manipulative because again it favors the self over others, so it's very much wanting to get whatever it wants at sort of all costs in a way. It's almost an overpowered placement in a way. So having that clash with Jupiter and Aquarius, there could be some kind of like cunningness or secrecy, manipulation, and again it could have to do with like online activity. So multiple kind of clashes there. This is kind of a difficult aspect to interpret, to be honest, but that's how I would really interpret it, is there's clash between the group or the future versus the self and the immediate circumstances. It's the main thing that I see there. Okay, let's go forward to December 9th. Moon does cross over Jupiter, which is really nice. So we have that kind of more of that fun-loving, playful energy, and we'll have that right before the moon enters Pisces. And again, everything really shifts once the moon enters Pisces about midday on Thursday. and that's Eastern Standard Time that you're seeing now here. Um, okay, so let's talk about that. So as soon as the moon enters Pisces, it's not making that first quarter square to the sun by aspect or by degree. However, it is in the sign that it will make that aspect from. So we're already feeling that increased energy, increased tension. We're feeling more restless, more anxious. So the downside is this is very hard to relax. It's almost impossible. But the plus side is it's really great for being productive or just really active. So you pretty much just have to do something on Thursday for most of the day. Uh, let's see here. And this is only really the real beginning here because the exact aspects happens on Friday, but we are feeling the beginnings of this energy on Thursday for sure. So increased energy, increased restlessness, and things may be foggy or unclear because Moon is in Pisces right now. So there's this increased activity, but it's almost in kind of like a delusional or emotional, spiritual way. It's hard to understand, and there's not really any structure to it. Um, let's see here. Also, Venus is getting very close to Pluto now, so we may also be starting to experience these new transformations regarding our finances or our romantic situations. And this may be very collective as well. It may affect like the economy or stocks or what have you, but this is really just kind of the hints of these things, which will actually begin more so in the following days here. Um, but yeah, that's the main thing I see is increased restlessness and activity and confusion. Going forward to Friday, December 10th, we have that exact aspect kind of late in the day here. So Moon in Pisces at 19 degrees makes that first quarter square to the Sun at 19 degrees of Sagittarius. And I did kind of talk about this a little bit in the intro here, but it's interesting again because it's the first quarter moon since the new moon solar eclipse. So whatever actually began then, we're really starting to see now. So whatever began last weekend on late on Friday night, early Saturday morning, there's something that sort of quietly began then that has been developing over this week or so and is now fully blossoming and really kind of rearing its head, if you will. It's really making itself known and disrupting the status quo. And what that is exactly is different for everyone. But there's these new events unfolding that are very kind of shocking and that are requiring change. This again is very delusional and confusing because Moon is in Pisces and it's conjunct Neptune, so everything's hard to calculate right now. This is really great for getting lost in fantasy, so like watching a good movie or reading a good book, doing something artistic, because our imaginations are very vivid right now with this aspect. However, this is very difficult for staying grounded and staying attuned with reality. So I think behaviors like, alcohol or drugs would be extra harmful right now because it is just so easy to get lost into fantasy. And it'd be hard to stay grounded. So it's really good to just do those things to integrate and to keep yourself grounded, to keep yourself in your body and whatnot, doing like physical activities, not getting lost into the mind or the emotions. Let's see here, what else? Yeah, also just really great for receiving intuitive messages or being creative in general. I think I kind of covered that here. Um, but difficult for anything which requires like analysis or like detail-oriented energy. All that would be very difficult right now. So, best advice I could give with this aspect here on Friday is I would say really make sure you're incorporating moderation because, again, excess would be just way too easy to get into right now, and I think it could be extra detrimental. Um, some kind of activity that allows you to be in your body, so like maybe like exercising or even just going for like a long walk, something that kind of allows you to daydream and but also be in your body at the same time. That way you could kind of make the best of both worlds. You could use that creativity or anything like artistic would be really good. Um, that way you can use that creativity and kind of access these kind of daydreams and the wisdom that comes from that sort of activity of the mind, if you will. You can make the most of that while also staying in your body and staying grounded. So that's kind of what I'd recommend. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, but yeah, but this does look potentially very destabilizing. It could also just lead to new realizations or new ideas or new, I don't know, new feelings. And there's this kind of sense of drama to it. It may be very easy to either view things as being better than they are and seeing things with rose-colored glasses and ignoring red flags. It could also be easy to be very paranoid, but either way, it's hard to stay objective. But luckily, this is a really brief aspect. It's mostly just applying to Friday, December 10th, maybe very early on Saturday, just because the moon travels so quickly here. Let's go forward. Yes, perfect. Let's go forward to Saturday, December 11th. So this chart is perfect because I wanted to show you the Venus-Pluto conjunction. So this is actually exact to the minute, so to the fraction of the degree, we have this conjunction between Venus and Pluto at 25 degrees Capricorn on Saturday, the 11th. And so this could trigger an actual event, or whether that be in our personal lives or collectively. Again, this is those changes and transformations involving our finances, but also our romantic situations. And basically, it's just what we desire and how we support ourselves that is dramatically changing. And this can be shocking because Capricorn rules things that we want to be consistent. It rules our long-term goals and sort of the structure of society. So it can be very alarming when there's dramatic changes with these types of themes. Also, just in our personal lives, what we desire or how we support ourselves, it can be it can feel destabilizing when there's changes in these areas. So it's good to just see these types of things and to embrace them. I would say that there's areas of all of our lives right now that require change. Otherwise, this wouldn't happen. This is basically the purpose of this aspect, is to show us what areas are in need of review and change. Because there may be we may be supporting ourselves or desiring things which are no longer true or no longer best for us, no longer truly functioning. They no longer have morality or integrity to them. So again, this is just an invitation to invite change here and to have new desires, new ways of supporting ourselves, new relationships potentially, or new finances, new ways to make our income or to invest, all these types of things here. Okay, and then Moon actually does enter Aries late in the day. So again, there's this sort of shift, and I think it's much more stable and warm going into Aries, just because the Moon will start to trine the Sun as we get a couple days ahead here. Let's see here, and then also we're just moving away from that first quarter Moon aspect, which was so electrifying and exciting, but also just a lot to handle. So I think things are actually, in almost a backwards way, they're actually more calming as the moon enters Aries on the 11th. And one last thing for this day, for Saturday, Mercury at 26 degrees of Sagittarius sextiles Jupiter at 26 degrees Aquarius. So this is really great for having really good conversations, thinking about really abstract or complex topics, philosophical topics, or I don't know, just thinking about like the world or philosophy, religion or politics or anything kind of controversial, edgy, abstract, far-reaching. Mercury and Sagittarius and Jupiter and Aquarius would love to talk about these types of things. It really wants those kind of interesting and unique interactions, and it wants to expand its mind and soul by learning this new type of like abstract or complex information. So this is something we would all kind of experience. We would want these kind of unique social experiences or just experiences in general, I guess. And again, it's just really great for not only conversations but also like learning. Mercury and Jupiter are sort of two opposing forces in a way. Mercury rules more like detailed or more mundane types of learning, and Jupiter is like the spiritual, religious, or like the university types of learning. So like the really sophisticated or you know the answering the big questions types of things. So the opposite of mundane. So combining these two just invites all types of learning, and it invites new types of perspectives, and sort of it's a really great aspect for like having good debates or lively conversations on Saturday. And it's almost kind of a party energy. I said earlier in this forecast that Sagittarius and Aquarius together, they are very intellectual, but they're also very instinctive and definitely party animals as well. So they do like to get wild and rowdy, and they are very rebellious, but they're also intellectual at the same time. So that's kind of the energy that we're experiencing on Saturday. So I actually really love this for a Saturday. I think it's really beautiful, especially later in the day once the moon enters Aries. Um, I think people will want to be kind of provocative or controversial, but it's all sort of in good fun. It's just wanting to have a good time here. Okay, let's go forward to Sunday, December 12th. Now, about halfway through the day, moon will cross over Chiron at 8 degrees of Aries, and it's making a really loose trine with the sun. So we're starting to feel really stable and really grounded as we go into Sunday, but also very energized. We're wanting to like get out, have fun, be talkative, or be spontaneous. And with the moon crossing over Chiron, this is a little bit different here. So Chiron is the wounded healer. It's having to do with our, empathy and our wounds. But in Aries, it's really much having to do with our own personal wounds and our personal, deep feelings or traumas. So we've been very vocal about all these types of things since 2018 when Chiron entered Aries. And with the moon crossing over this aspect, it really just kind of ignites it and makes us all more self-expressive, especially about these kind of deeper emotional topics. The sun also invites this, I guess, to some extent by making that loose trine, at least by sign, from 20 degrees of Sagittarius. So yeah, I think we are being more lively, more expressive of our emotions, especially during that time period where the moon crosses over Chiron. So that's about halfway through Sunday. Um, let me put it this way. So I think most of Sunday is a very expressive day, very warm, kind of fun-loving day. There might be some awkward conversations about halfway through the day when everyone is very much focusing on their own emotional traumas. There's nothing wrong with that. I've just noticed Chiron aspects to be awkward because it's almost like people are overly aware of what everyone else is like thinking or feeling, and it can cause this like gridlock in the interactions. It can also be kind of difficult when everyone is so much wanting to express their own personal traumas that, there's no one to listen if everyone's just, kind of crying, if you will. I will say the positive thing would be that it can be good to be honest and be open about where we are and where we've come from. That can be really great, so don't get me wrong. But yeah, all in all, I think this weekend is actually kind of a solid, fun time, really, especially compared to the week. This week is just so up and down, so it's kind of nice to leave it on a good note as we go through this weekend. And that's what I have for you for this week. Definitely stay tuned for next week because we do have Mercury and Mars changing signs. We also have a full moon, and we have Venus going retrograde and Chiron turning direct. So really, there's a lot of stuff happening next week. So definitely stay tuned. But I hope this helped. If you have any questions or if you'd like a reading, leave a comment below, or you can email me at manic.mercurian@gmail.com. But thanks for watching. I'll see you later.